Hello, welcome back to RobRyanRed, the Wrexham podcast brought to you by Red 10 People Development. A quick one at the start of this show. Thank you very much to everyone who watched on YouTube last week. This podcast as well will be on YouTube as well. So if you want to watch it rather than listen to it, then a shout out for RobRyanRed on YouTube. On today's podcast, we'll be looking at the proposed loyalty scheme that could be introduced by Wrexham in time for the new season. We'll take a look at the new CEO. And Nath, you caught up with a special guest as well. How are you doing, mate? I mean, we did actually meet up this week, didn't we? We had our RobRyanRed AGM in Manchester, which was really bad Chinese food and a lot of grand ideas going forward.
Now, I'm not being funny. It was your recommendation. So you're off the next AGM I'm going to pick because it was okay. It was fine. I very much enjoyed your company. I enjoyed that more than the food, I think. It's got to be better, the Chinese food in Manchester than where we went. We're not even going to out it as a place because it doesn't deserve it. But also, I want to say that
I was about to be mean and say the food was awful and I still preferred that to your company. But
okay, you probably did as well. He's probably just trying to disguise that as a joke. What I was going to say though is it makes me laugh that we were so unreliable on YouTube for a few months that now we're having to inform people that this will also be on YouTube. Every single week we're going to tell you it is going to be on YouTube. We got a great reaction on that actually. Thank you so much. And I would just echo what Rich said. Loads of people, loads of comments, loads of shares, and also plenty of people still listening on the audio as well. So great stuff. We're planning lots and lots of things, and thanks so much. We've got so many emails talking about Vancouver. People offering us also offering to help us out in any way. So we've seen them all. We're trying to reply to as many as we can, and who knows, next week or the week after, maybe we'll be able to get to another mailbag. But I'm fine, mate. How are you doing? I'm in my black United kit today. I wore red last week. You're in.
Should we lift the lid Adidas here on the list? Can we lift the lid on this? Because can we sort of reveal that you were sent something by United this week and you got very giddy with what it might be?
Will the people of United bother if no, you know what? I did get sent a gift, which I think might be up here. Let's see.
So here's the premise, guys. I spoke to Nath at the weekend. Myself and him went to Brighton, watched Man United final day of the season, and Nath said to me, "Oh, I'm getting sent a gift by United Airlines this week," and we were both thinking, he's going to be getting the bloody new kit, isn't he? Because, Nath, this is your information, I don't want to steal it myself, but Wrexham's deal with United Airlines on the front of shirt was a 2-year deal. Wasn't initially announced as one, was it? So it's a 2-year deal. Next season, United Airlines will be on the front of the Wrexham kits as well. And when they sent you this package, they didn't tell you what the package was. So we were both thinking, Nath's definitely going to be he's probably getting the new kit, will he? What could it be? What could it be? It must be some... we're not trying to be too snooty here, but it's like we just got very excited that Nate's going to get a sneak peek look at the new home shirt for next season or something. What turned up at your house?
Well, it was very secretive. Couldn't give you more information. It's just United are sending a package. What turned up at my house was this lovely little box. Now, I quickly realised that wasn't a shirt, or it was packaged very small if it was. This is also going to make us sound so spoiled and entitled that we were expecting a new shirt. But nonetheless, I got a Wrexham amenities kit, which, if you're on long haul flights for United, will be on it will be in their business class operation. So if you have thousands of pounds and dollars to spend, you might be able to get one of these. Or Wrexham pajamas, they're also available. I didn't receive those, but I received this.
So what's in your amenities kit? You got sort of face cream, a toothbrush, a flannel.
Let's have a look, shall we?
I mean, let's have a look doesn't make for a great podcast for the majority of people who still listen to it.
No. Well, anyone who's listening, I got some United earplugs, a sleep mask, some socks, travel socks, soft tissues. I mean, I got all the good stuff, mate. A dental kit, face cream. What more do you want? A shirt, probably. But I mean, what more do we want aside from that?
Do you know what's more worrying? It sounds like they watched last week's YouTube video and they're like, we need to send him an amenities kit.
Yeah, probably. I mean, look at me again. I've had a fresh shave for this episode, and my amenities are already looking good. But no, thank you to the people of United. Yes, as Rich said, I just checked in because I wasn't sure. Were we going to be renegotiating a front of shirt sponsor deal? No, we're not. This is the second year of United that we're going into now, and then it will be up for renewal heading into 2025-26. So to put that to rest, United will again be the front of shirt sponsor heading into League One.
Nath, news as well, away from the pitch. New CEO for Wrexham. We said last week or the week before, wasn't it, that Flo was leaving the club. Been replaced now by Mike Williamson. Arrives with a very interesting CV. The time at Inter Milan, the time in Miami as well, DC United. He seems like a real coup for Wrexham. And this, for me, feel like this isn't to disparage Fleur by any means, but she was a lower league, sort of football league CEO. This is one of the big guys. He might not be a household name in Europe as much, and maybe not even to sort of Wrexham fans, but just looking at that CV, looking at the experience he's had, and the fact that, I can imagine that there are a lot more people who want the job now than wanted it when Fleur took over. Now that they've seen just how Wrexham is the real deal. So Mike Williamson on board is very exciting, isn't it?
I mean, I can't lie. When I first saw the notification that came up, Mike Williamson has joined Wrexham, I thought, how have we got the MK Dons manager? What's happening? What roles he taking on? Yeah, when it turned out it was Mike Williamson, the executive of Inter Milan, and I also got pulled up that I should have said Internazionale rather than Inter Milan, apparently. But there we go. Inter Milan, Miami FC, DC United. I would say that he comes with a word of warning. We were all getting very giddy at the CV. There have been some grumbles about how fans received him in Miami and in DC. But he's got to come here with a blank canvas. Really, we've got to give him the benefit of the doubt, see how he interacts with fans. We said, didn't we, Rich? Will this new CEO be public facing? There isn't a lot out there in terms of interviews with Mike Williamson. I watched one clip of him on TV doing a sit down in a studio. He did appear very charismatic and friendly and smiley. Will he come on the podcast? That'd be a good way to get in touch with the fans, wouldn't it? But yeah, let's see. It's a big job. Fleur was brought in, I think, to get us out the National League. She successfully did that and helped us get us into League One. And now it's an even bigger task to get from, the third division to the first division. It's a huge task. But look, you've got someone who was chief financial officer at Inter Milan. Now, that is not a job for the faint-hearted. And while an Italian friend of mine said Inter Milan's finances are worse than death, I still believe that is a big job, and it is a massive coup for Wrexham to get this guy. So, he's waiting on his visa to start work. He's waiting on his visa to start work officially. But yeah, someone's got to be making a flag, haven't they? Milan, Miami mold. There's got to be some mold reds that are going to do the Milan, Miami mold, the world of Mike Williamson flag, surely. I'd do it if I was still living back in mold. That's what I would do. But yeah, I'm excited. I think it's a real statement of intent from both Rob and Ryan and Sean Harvey and others.
Yeah, like I think I'm similar with you on that. That I'm not going to pretend I know all about this guy. I'm going to be honest. I hadn't heard of him this time last week. That's probably might be my ignorance, but I hadn't. And that CEOs and people who sort of move in that sphere, you know some of the more notable ones, don't you? And certain ones who want to be celebrities. I do think it's always quite refreshing when you get someone like that who you don't really know, because that proves that they're in it for the right reasons. They don't want to just be a brand themselves. They don't want to have that sort of arrogance around them. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what he brings to the club, what he introduces, how he fits into everything. And even for him, I mean, you talk about everywhere he's lived. I mean, no offense to mold, but when you say Milan, Miami, mold, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where he lives. Maybe that'll be that. Maybe that's the way I'll put it on that one. It'll be a bit of a culture shock for him, but again, I think it is a real sign of the times that we're able to attract people of such sort of caliber, and that also shows the ambition of the club going forward. And it's been reiterated time and time again that getting to League One is back to maybe our spiritual home and where lots of us feel we do belong. But we've got plans to upsize once again.
Rich, I was going to say, and this is purely just a thought. There's what I will stress, no knowledge whatsoever. I don't want any aggregator or coming and saying I said this. But is there the prospect that Mike Williamson could? I don't even believe it when I'm saying it, but could he work from the US? Like, could he focus more on? I don't know. Could it be will he be boots on the ground in mold? Or Llangollen or wherever he wants to pitch up and live. I don't know. You would think yes. You would think a CEO has to be on the ground, boots on the ground every day, surely. But I'm asking that he's from. And I also, what am I talking about? They're trying to get him a visa. They wouldn't need to do that if he was still living in Miami.
Yeah, no, I get what you mean. I think it's good for him to have the knowledge of both of our biggest markets. But I just think even if I worked for a company and some guy who lived in half the world away is giving me instructions, telling me how to do my job, without being there themselves, I just don't think I'd take kindly to it. So I think he will be boots on the ground, as often as possible. So that's exciting to see. I suppose lots of fans, though, Nath, will be saying, where are our transfers? Where are these new players? We've seen contracts signed at rival clubs. We've seen, Rotherham US tell me they've got some very exciting additions already to their team. We're starting to see, Birmingham are looking at potentially getting their new manager in at some point. I think Alex Neil was the latest man to sort of be linked with that role. So Wrexham fans might be saying, where are our signings? Where's these transfers coming in? Phil Parkinson spoke, I believe it was to the leader this week, wasn't it, Nath? And he said that, look, we are still waiting on Premier League and Championship retain lists to come out. We need to see what exactly is available before we start sort of jumping a bit too soon. They will already have ideas and tentative talks of players they'd like to bring in, but you don't want to be going for a League One caliber player when a Championship or, dare I say, even Premier League caliber player might become available in the coming weeks. So Phil Parkinson has said that there is nothing imminent on the transfer front, but Wrexham obviously would like to get some players in before that pre-season tour that is fast approaching, really. And, like we said, before we know it, we will be doing that first sort of podcast of the new season. So on the transfer front, I would personally say, a couple of weeks yet until we get close to signing anyone anyway.
Yeah, it looks like Rotherham are building some sort of League One super team. They are just
like
flying
Space
out the
Jam.
traps. That's what they're doing. I don't know who their Michael Jordan is, but they've probably got Bugs Bunny and they've got the rest of them. They've got Daffy Duck and whoever else. And I'm struggling now to think of Looney Tunes characters, which is really poor.
I should have gone for the Springfield Isotopes, because that's my favourite ever Simpsons episodes, where they've got Daryl Strawberry and they've got every. I know the song, the softball song, but I'm struggling to name any other baseball sort of stars from that. But
okay, I thought you were going to give us a rendition of the song then, but no, you want
copyright.
I can tell it.
Copyright.
There you go. Fair enough. Copyright. What I would say is that there are other teams, and it's always a case of getting a bit jittery. And when you see other teams making big moves, Mansfield when they got Lee Gregory, Rotherham when they got Johnson Clark-Harris. I think they went and got Reece James today. Not that one from Chelsea, a different one. It's a waiting game with Wrexham. You can see that they're still pushing for Arthur. We don't think that's a goer. All gone very quiet on the Arthur front. Truth be told, there's nothing imminent for him either way, whether it's with Wrexham or anyone else. I'm led to believe. I've done lots of checks with various people, various clubs, and what is the situation with that player and what is the situation with that player. And most of the time I'm getting told it's all quiet on the Western Front when it comes to Wrexham. So it's a waiting game. And as I said, as Phil Parkinson alluded to in his comments to the leader, they're making routine inquiries. I said a few weeks ago now about the inquiries for the Wigan trio, Tom Pearce, Josh McGuinness, Stephen Humphreys. That wasn't Wrexham are making 3 moves to basically hijack Wigan. Just routine inquiries. Why wouldn't you do that to find out what players want? So I'm content, although the podcast needs a bit of a transfer lift, doesn't it, really? But instead we've got loyalty scheme.
Yeah, loyalty scheme. I suppose that is the perfect segue there, mate. And I mean, you were the one who sort of maybe you alerted me to this, shall we say?
You're not saying any more than that. Basically, that is all you're going to say. Yeah.
Yeah, that's just because there was it's been leaked online, hasn't there? A proposed document which I hadn't seen, but you kindly pointed me in the right direction of it, and I suppose there are some salient points from it that are worth knowing. And the summary of them we did tweet again, RobRyanRed, as you know, RobRyanRed on all the socials, and this was put out on X by us earlier in the week. And this is the premise then for what is suggested to be this proposed new loyalty scheme, which a lot of fans have been calling for. We have discussed it on the podcast before, whether that is something that we can actually move into. So Wrexham are planning to hopefully introduce a loyalty scheme, which would be in place from next season. That would be backdated from the beginning of the 2022 to 23 season, with the idea of it eventually being backdated over the last 5 seasons, which would be sort of rolling. So every year it would move on an extra season. The reason it was only starting over a 3-season period is because Wrexham just don't have the accurate sort of sales data from before then, because it was sort of pre-takeover, harder to track. So the fairest way is, since they have been able to track the data, who has been regularly going to home and away matches, how do we reward that loyalty? How do we make sure that they are given not all the tickets for games going forward, but they are given maybe a chunk, and there is a reward for doing so and for slogging to some of those really unfavourable matches. I think of, what was it, Weymouth on Tuesday night that yourself and James Kelly did. You left before Paul Mullen came to shake everyone's hand, which was a bit of a kick in the teeth.
That's going to haunt me, Rich. That's going to haunt me. And James is super nice, one of the nicest guys I know, and he delivered bad news in such a nice way that I almost couldn't feel mad in the end that he'd shaken Paul Moyne's hand. I felt happy for him, but sad that I'd gone. But there are others. Sutton on a Tuesday night this year, wasn't it? When Elliot Lee got the last minute winner. There have been other slogs. I mean, you did Mansfield, wasn't? Was that was a midweek? No, that was a midweek night. The 0-0. I feel like that was you got there just before, and someone passed your ticket through the gate.
Yes,
These are pardon me. These are trips that are slogs. And there will be games next season. I mean, some Stockport fans are speculating that the away allocation for their game against us will be 900 fans, 900 tickets. Now that'll be massively oversubscribed, and so if you do make these slogs to whether it's Bristol Rovers on a Tuesday night or Exeter or Leyton Orient or these other far-flung places, I know Leyton Orient's in London, but still, it's a long old trip that. You do deserve the opportunity to jump the queue in a way, I think. But I don't agree with this idea that it will become a closed shop because there's a loyalty scheme.
Yeah, so loyalty scheme would say that if you have a renewed season ticket, you would automatically get 33 points. If you have a club membership account, you would get 10 points. You would then get 1 point earned for every home game you buy if you're a club member. Obviously, season ticket holders would already have their home games paid for. And you'd get 2 points earned for every away game. Like I said, so the points would then be over the last 3 seasons, and you'd also get it eventually over the last 5 seasons going forward. So from this time in a year's time, it'd be over the last 4 seasons. 2 years' time, it'd be over the last 5 seasons, and then it'd be 5 seasons from there on in. Like you said, Nate, that is interesting because we understand it's only for sort of men's competitive first team matches. So effectively, if you're buying matches to a competitive men's match, you are getting priority for a competitive men's match. So if you go into the power chair, if you go into the women's games, you won't be then getting loyalty for the men's matches, which, I do think that I see the arguments both sides of that, but I think it is a fairer way probably to do it, given, you're getting loyalty for the product you're trying to buy. I guess there is lots of fans who will feel hard done by because they're already frozen out of not having a season ticket. There are no more season tickets going on sale. So you're automatically at least a 23-point disadvantage there. And then we already know that it's a tombola to get home matches as well. So to actually accrue more loyalty points, there's still a lot of luck involved for a lot of supporters.
Rich, here's a thought though, and it's on again, what we should stress is that this leaked document is just a proposal. I'm sure there is an element of it being subject to change or tweaks. I should stress that. But say you've been to a hell of a lot of games over the past few seasons, and you've accrued a fair few points, and you can't get a season ticket this season, and you accrue a lot more points again. Isn't it that if you get a season ticket, your points essentially go back to nil, and then you start over? It'd be really interesting if they stick to that because, there's the idea that as a member you can build up points a lot quicker because you can get every home game, and you build up points. Even though as a season ticket holder you've got a kind of points advantage, 23-point advantage. I'm not sure members can accrue it at a faster rate, but that seemed to be the suggestion on the document. So if your points were voided or started over if you were to get a season ticket, it'd be a serious question mark.
I think it would be a serious question mark, but like I said, this is a proposal. This isn't even anything that's finite or out there at the moment. So I think there would be maybe they'd be looked at case by case, but I can't see that happening where they'd wipe someone's points just because they're technically going from a membership to a season ticket. I can't really see. Do you know what I mean? I think there'll be such an uproar if that happens.
Rich, do you even think that every game next season would need the loyalty scheme in terms of would actually need a barrier between?
Well, no.
Do you do it for every game but do you do it for every game because you have it, or do you just go, well, there's 4,000 tickets to Bolt, and then we only need 3.5 or whatever the case may be. I don't know, but
I think you put it in place for every game just so it's in place, really, and you're making use of it. But there was games towards the end of last season. I'm struggling to think which ones they were, but I swear there was two. Was it maybe Gillingham? Was there a Tuesday night game we played as well, where tickets were still on sale a few days before? Was it Colchester, perhaps? You could almost buy
Colchester and Gillingham were Saturday games, but yeah, Colchester was one where you could buy right up until the end.
And that'll be the case next season as well, where you go to some of these games that are just maybe a bit less appealing, and I suppose as well for a certain vintage of Wrexham fans, grounds that we've been to countless times before, it will be great to go back to them and go with them with renewed optimism. But some fans might be, like you mentioned there, Leyton Orient. I went when we were in non-league playing there, that 12:30 game that was on BT Sport that we lost 1-0. And there was loads of us down there pre-Hollywood going to watch that early kickoff. But, if late Norwich next season, if it's a game that's quite early on and nothing riding on it, I won't be maybe too concerned about going to it. And there might be similar fans like that. But I think, like you said, what we just need to hammer home is this is all preemptive because there's nothing official out there yet. These are just apparent proposals that have been leaked online that we feel we have to comment on because we've spoke about them before. I do, just personal opinion, think we need this loyalty scheme. You need to reward people who are making those slogs. That's not saying, look, me and Nath go to a few games, we deserve to be rewarded. There's so many more Wrexham fans who go to more games than us and have done for years, and they deserve to be rewarded because they were right there when we needed them the most as supporters and as a club. The shame there is, of course, that this will only run for the last 3 seasons, so it is post-Hollywood anyway, so you're basically rewarding people who have been here since the takeover, but that's just the nature of it. You can't have people bringing ticket stubs from games in 2014 and 2015 and stuff and saying, I was there. It just won't work like that. So it's a step in the right direction. I think, like you said, because it is just this leaked proposal, there'll be a lot of movement on it yet. There'll be a lot of adjustment to it if required. Hopefully there'll be back and forth between sort of these fan groups and fan representation and the boards and stuff, and hopefully it can get ironed out into something that works. It might get announced initially, and for the first season it might not work perfectly. There could be teething issues, and hopefully for next season they can be sort of adjusted. But because it's brand new to the club, I think we've just got to say, look, give them a chance to implement it. If we've got any issues with it, we will raise it on the podcast. We will raise it to people we know at the club and hopefully try and get them ironed out. But it's a step in the right direction. And I we are critical of the club at times, but I feel that it's it's long overdue and it's a step in the right direction. So well done for doing it.
Yeah, get in touch if you've got any thoughts on the loyalty scheme. We have shared some details of it on here and also over on X on Twitter. But RobRyanRed@gmail.com if you have any specific requirements or things you think should be part of the loyalty scheme.
RobRyanRed in League One.
Right, Rich, preseason predictions.
I've been dreading this.
We didn't do very well, and people are going to see that now, but you definitely didn't do your homework, and you seem like a guy that in school did do his homework, but for this, no. Do you want to say a few? Do you want to say a few words before I have to actually expose how bad it was?
Yeah, so basically, this is last summer. Nath was like, look, we need to do a League 2 prediction table. But half an hour before recording, I forgot that I was meant to make a prediction table. So I think I probably Googled I probably just typed in like League 2 predictions, and I sort of got someone else's list up and sort of just jazzed it up with my own sort of ideas in there. I hadn't done my homework on League 2. I did think it was going to be sort of HMS piss the league, Wrexham would get promoted. So we were out on that front. I just hadn't done my research on a few teams. I will hold my hand up and say I expected Forest Green to do a lot better than they did, obviously getting relegated. And I really honestly expected Crawley to go down. So for them to get promoted, absolute hats off to them. They've proven so many people wrong because they were an absolute mess the season before last. So yeah, that's it. We get things wrong. Good thing we're not paid to give our opinions, mate.
No, let me get the table up then. So here you can see my table, Rich's table, and the actual table. Rich, let's just work our way down then, shall we? So Stockport, unanimous across the board. We thought they'd missed out against Carlisle on penalties, and they were going to come back and do it, and they did. I was 2 for 2. I was looking good as I was going down. Stockport, Wrexham. You had Bradford City, the ultimate underachievers.
Yeah, just vibes, mate. Like I said, I think last season, because it was Mark Hughes, wasn't it? And I was just saying, like, we're going to have this forced rivalry with Bradford City. It's just going to happen. I can envisage it. It obviously didn't work out that way. We should have beaten them every time we played them last season as well, I feel. And, it didn't work out that way. Yeah, got it wrong. What can I say?
So here we go. So as people will see on the screen, we've got plus numbers. So how the distance, isn't it, Rich, between how far they were away from where we predicted them to be. Don't bother adding it up. Rich is lost by a country mile, so that's okay. I had MK Dons third, Rich. I was only 1 point off, and obviously they got utterly humiliated in the playoffs. You had Wrexham, again, 1 point off. So largely, if we're breaking it down, our automatics weren't bad. We were 2 for 3. I mean, you couldn't argue with that. I know people say they're obvious picks. They're obvious picks, but we were 2 for 3. The playoffs is where things went badly wrong. Do you want to start with yours? Because
Yeah, so I had Gillingham, Notts County, Grimsby, and MK Dons making the playoffs. Which MK, fair enough. Grimsby Town, what on earth? What was I thinking that day? Like I said, I must have read someone else's odds and just passed them off of my own because even right now I'm astounded by that. Notts County, though, I think that's everyone sort of got them wrong, and you got to remember this is last summer where we thought they would still have Luke Williamson in charge, and we thought it would be Luke Williams, and we thought that they would be one of the teams who would be neck and neck with us, for promotion. So, yeah, that's my explanation there.
I mean, in fairness, all of our top 7 are basically exactly the same. I had Notts County in 4th; they finished 14th. I had Bradford in the playoffs; they finished 9th. Gillingham 12th, and Grimsby. You and I both had an absolute stinker with the Mariners. I really thought they would be a force to be reckoned with. Not the case. And then from there, I'll run you through a few more of mine. I had Doncaster 8th, which looked a horrible pick come February when they were 22nd, but ended up only 3 off. Doncaster were in and around where I thought they would be in that top half. Mansfield, I massively underestimated. And Barrow, I was only 2 off. They finished, what was it, 8th in the end? Yeah, they finished 8th overall. I had them finishing 10th. So top 10, I've probably had one real stinker in Grimsby. Notts County, I think you're right. We all thought, I think everyone thought they were going to be right up there. And they finished with the top assist maker and the top scorer. So how they finished 14th, I don't really know.
Yeah, same for me. Like I just underestimated Mansfield and Doncaster. I knew Mansfield had been there or thereabouts, but I thought they were maybe just going to be a bit damaged by those failed campaigns rather than sort of reinvigorated by them. Forest Green, I think the cautionary tale there is you always expect teams who've been relegated to be there or thereabouts to push back up. A double sort of demotion is quite noteworthy. And I suppose as well, when we sort of get onto our League One predictions, it'll be interesting to see where we put the relegated Championship teams, because quite often you need a season or two to adapt. So got that one massively wrong. Mid-table, we were kind of there or thereabouts. Interestingly enough, though, Nath, I was spot on with Tranmere Rovers being 16th. You were spot on with Accrington Stanley being 17th. And I'm quite happy with where we were for all the sort of mid-table teams, because the points, there's the congestion there. I severely underestimated Barrow and Crewe, which didn't reflect too well on me. And I keep on looking down to the 2 teams we backed to get relegated, mate. And
we've had an absolute nightmare. So I had Harrogate to finish 23rd, and I had Crawley Town to finish rock bottom of the Football League. The worst team in the Football League I had Crawley Town to be. And they went and got promoted, deservedly so. Thrashed MK Dons 8-1, and then were deserving winners against Crewe. And quickly, I'll say, the dive, I don't know his name, but the dive by the Crewe player in the final was absolutely embarrassing to the highest order. I've never seen a dive like that at Wembley in my life.
Maybe? I think I've got a feeling it's number 7
right.
Long. Yeah.
Utterly embarrassing. I've never seen anything like that. And people moaning about VAR.
I suppose that was another thing that we didn't speak about on the podcast when this was recorded, was obviously we know that Crawley got promoted.
Yeah. So, look, I mean, overall, for anyone who's watching, they can see my table. And if you're listening, I've had a couple of double-digit stinkers. So I had Notts County. They were 10 places away from where I thought. Grimsby, they had a mare for me. Forest Green finishing mid-table. Nope. And Harrogate and Crawley. So 5 teams there where I'm going to offer a public apology. Not that any of them are listening, but I severely underestimated you, or overestimated you in the case maybe.
If that's a new craps catchphrase of double-digit stinkers, I only had 4 compared to your 5, so I'm feeling almost sort of pleased with that. I do think I got lots of the teams sort of below Tranmere and above relegation zone pretty spot on. I think we both did, didn't we? The teams were there or thereabouts.
We both knew Newport would be rubbish. I mean, they were always bound to be.
Surprise.
We knew that. Colchester, we knew would be pretty rubbish. Sutton, we knew they'd be down there.
Do you know what's mad though, Nave? Is obviously with hindsight, it's wonderful. I'm like sat here now, like, why did I not back Sutton to get relegated? Like, I knew they were going to get relegated. Like, no offense,
but then they'd flirted with the playoffs and all that. So easy. Our League One predict right. So I got 3 correct. Rich got 2. Are we going to get any more, mate, for League One? Do you think we're going to get any more right?
Not a chance.
Not a chance. Well, look, stay tuned. We're going to do our League One predictions soon. Let us know if you watched on YouTube. Let us know in the comments if you did a prediction where you went badly wrong or where you were very much right. Some smart arse will come in the comments saying they got 1 to 24 bang on now, as they always do. And stay tuned for our League One predictions. Right, Rich. Final segment of the show. It's a quiet week. Is that going to be the trademark until we get a sign in? A quiet week of Wrexham where you get a new CEO, a doc episode, and a loyalty scheme, and all that sort of stuff. Quiet.
Exactly.
Quiet.
This is just, again, it's our entitlement. Like we got with your United Airlines package. You just expect him too much, maybe. But yeah, it's an interesting time because things are starting to shape up. I kind of like that a lot of our rivals are doing business because it almost means we're going into the market knowing exactly the level we need to be at. Because you look at that Rotherham squad now, you can kind of tell what they might be looking like for next season. So if you can get a squad as close to that as possible, then you'll be right in the mix to be hopefully towards the top end of League One, which we'll save for that prediction video you teased. But you have been doing some extracurricular work away from the podcast, haven't you? And you got a special guest for us.
I was going to say extracurricular sounds slightly ominous. I was just doing another interview for the podcast. I was speaking to none other than Peter Moore, very well connected to Liverpool, but also very well connected to Wrexham. Was in Wrexham Schoolboys, played alongside Mickey and Joey. They had a famous tour in '72, I think it was, where they went to Germany. And I'm sure he's got great tales of that. But we don't get into that. We do talk about his conversation with Rob McElhenney that's approaching 4 years ago. Rob drove 2 hours to get his advice on Wrexham, what he needed to buy a club. And I just asked Peter Moore about what next, what will happen next? How easy was it to get Wrexham into FIFA? How did that come about? He also tells me about Santa Barbara. We're going there for the pre-season tour. What to do in Santa Barbara, including a place called the Funk Zone, which sounds superb. But as he looked out into the ocean, he spoke to me about Wrexham, what comes next, and why infrastructure should be top priority over another promotion. Right then, this summer, as we said last week, myself and Rich are off to Vancouver. We couldn't do the entire trip, but those of you who are, and I know we've had lots of messages from people that are going to Santa Barbara, you might be asking, what can we do in Santa Barbara? What is there to do? And so I had to think, who could I get? Who could I find out? Who could I ask about it? And I thought, you know what? Let me ask none other than Wrexham advisor, Peter Moore, who is also owner of a new team from 2025, Santa Barbara Sky. We're going to get into all of that, what it's like setting up a new team and all that good stuff. But Peter, thank you for coming on. Firstly, what can we do in Santa Barbara? Where are the good spots? What are we going to expect this summer?
Well, we're known as and I'm coming to you from Santa Barbara, looking at the Pacific Ocean right now. It's known as the American Riviera. Why? It's got a Mediterranean climate, sits nicely nestled 90 minutes north of Los Angeles on the Pacific coast. Unique in that it actually faces south. If you think of the West Coast, it actually faces south. Why is that important? Because you get sunshine all day long, well into the evening, going over, obviously, from the west to the east. And wonderful community, city of just under 100,000 people, deep Spanish roots from, 150 years ago. When you come here to Santa Barbara, you will see all the street signs are recognizing Spanish, I guess, dignitaries of the history. The architecture, as you will see, is very unique in that it's classically Spanish, terracotta tiles, light stucco buildings, no skyscrapers, no building over 4 stories high is allowed in Santa Barbara. And so you have this incredibly kind of beach town feel. The unique geography of Santa Barbara is the mountains come almost all the way down to the beach. And so it's magnificent any way you look. I'm very fortunate to live in Montecito, which is a suburb of Santa Barbara. And I'm about 20 minutes from Harder Stadium, and we can talk about that. But so much to do. Hundreds of restaurants, tremendous cultural experiences, museums. It really emanates about its equestrian and agricultural history. Please go visit the Western Museum here, which is free to walk in, which has got stagecoaches and saddles and repeater rifles and everything that is a recognition of the past of this wonderful town. And you're close to wine country. You're in the Central Coast wine country of Santa Ynez. It's 30 minutes away, and you can have some of the best wines in the world. So you go to the Funk Zone here in Santa Barbara, and some great breweries.
Zone.
That's exactly what it's called.
The Funk Zone. Well, hey, look, I'm wondering whether me and Rich need to delve a little bit deeper into our pockets. We need to get to Santa Barbara now. It sounds great, and I know that, as you mentioned, Harder Stadium. That is where Wrexham will play AFC Bournemouth, themselves under Bill Foley, American ownership. So there'll be lots of American interest and a lot of promotion for that game. But Harder Stadium, when it came out, Wrexham are playing at BC Place in Vancouver, a huge stadium in Vancouver. Then they're also playing in San Francisco at Levi Stadium, Levi Field, where the San Francisco 49ers play. Again, a huge arena. So on the face of it, I think initially people looked at it and go, oh, Harder Stadium, 17,000 or whatever it is. It's pales in comparison to these huge stadiums. But I actually got a message off a friend in Texas who said Harder Stadium is a very good stadium for atmosphere. And so, I mean, you would concur with that?
Yeah, I mean, the history of Harder Stadium and the history of the University of California, Santa Barbara, UCSB, the Gauchos, is one of soccer. And a momentous occasion in the mid-80s where they decided they're no longer going to play American football, and that the stadium then should be converted to a soccer-specific stadium. No track, classically tight around the field, like a normal, if you call it, European stadium. And it's very much a soccer town. The university determined that the cost of American football versus the benefit of American football wasn't there. So it's very well known over the last 20, 30 years as a perennial contender in the NCAA, the collegiate leagues here, as a soccer school and a great basketball school as well. The stadium, around 17,000, probably usable based on what I believe will happen in July, of about 15, maybe 16,000 seats. I do believe the game is sold out, as you can imagine, because not only will it be Santa Barbara soccer community that will have snapped up the tickets, but we're in good hitting distance of Los Angeles, and those that would like to, jump up what's known as Pacific Coast Highway to come up here to Santa Barbara to take in Wrexham from Los Angeles, I'm sure will have snapped up some of the tickets as well. So great soccer atmosphere. The Gauchos have a tremendous rivalry up the coast with Cal Poly, San Luis Obispo, and they typically will get, for those big games, it's like a derby match here, 10, 11, 12,000 crowd. And notorious for when the Gauchos score a goal, they throw tortillas onto the field, much to the chagrin of the authorities, but that has been part of the tradition. So, yeah, Santa Barbara is a great, great soccer town.
Well, I'm not sure if any Wrexham players are prepared to be hit by any flying tortillas. We'll see. That might be part of the experience. We shall see. But what I will say, I've got a few more things to pick your brain on, because you are ingrained in the Wrexham story, not just the takeover one, but even before that. You're thinking of Wrexham schoolboys when you played with them and Joey Jones, and we'll maybe touch on your personal connection. But it's this year will be 4 years since Rob McElhenney, or it's approaching the end of this year, it'll be 4 years since Rob McElhenney probably made it up Pacific Highway to come and see you, drove 2 hours to come and see you and pick your brains in the very early stages. He had far fewer wrinkles then. He didn't quite know what he was getting himself in for in terms of football ownership. What are your memories of that meeting and meeting Rob and discussing Wrexham for the first time?
Well, you're right, Nathan. I mean, he called me up and said, I'd love to come see you. He lives in Brentwood, which is a suburb of Los Angeles. It's a good 2-hour drive. And I said, sure, I'm more than happy to make you a cup of coffee. Let's sit down and chat Wrexham. I can give you the benefit of my history there and Grove Park Grammar School for Boys and everything that I grew up and still have my family roots there. And we chatted. He explained why. And I've told this story a number of times, but, during the height of lockdown, he flips on Netflix and already kind of a soccer fan because he played FIFA, EA Sports FIFA with his sons and so had an understanding of the game. But he had watched Sunderland Till I Die, and his roots in Philadelphia, it resonated, that series resonated with him of a community that relied so much on its good times for its soccer team, and when things go badly, it puts the entire community, in a funk. And that's exactly what was going on during his early years in Philadelphia, where all of his teams were very good. But he's been able to see what sports can do in general, and watching the documentary series, realizing what football soccer could do for a community. And he'd never met Ryan before, but they were kind of DM buddies, and reached out and said, "Hey, we're going to buy a football team." And as bold as that was, I think Ryan understood what the rationale was. It's not to make money. It's not to self-aggrandize, but it's to use the power of sport to do good, and a community that needed help. And the company in New York that helped them do the purchase ultimately,
Right.
Inner Circle, I've known for many years in my Liverpool days, and Steve Horowitz, who spent a lot of time then in the subsequent years in Wrexham, reached out and said, we just need some help here. Rob badly wanted me to go back to Wrexham and help out in the senior role, but it just, for personal reasons, I'd just come back after 3.5 years in Liverpool, and it simply wasn't going to work. But I said, look, I'll help you in any way I can. Whether it's, I'll give you the lowdown on Wrexham from the early years of the John Neal teams all the way up to the present day. The racecourse ground itself. I went to school at Yale in the shadow of the stand there. I played a number of times at the racecourse for Wrexham senior schoolboys. Yeah, and in those youth teams in those days, it was Joey Jones, Noddy Thomas, Mickey, and we had some golden years there as youth teams coming through, and spent a lot of time with Joey and Mickey on tour in Germany. I've got great pictures from the Wrexham leader that I look at every now and again. That's probably, I don't know, close to 50 years ago now, 55 years ago now. And, it very much deep in my roots, and great times at the racecourse ground. And so I explained what Wrexham was all about: the industry, the people, a border town, a market town, a town that wasn't quite sure whether it was part of Greater Merseyside or part of Wales at times. And so from that perspective, I think, and then of course I helped them get Wrexham in the FIFA game, and started talking to Glyndŵr University, who people I knew there through my video game background, and did a lot of interviews.
On FIFA, on the FIFA point, how early was that? Rob playing it with his son. How eager was it? Because no non-league team had ever been in it. It wasn't, non-league teams weren't in the game. How early was that, and how did that process look like? Because we obviously see the advert as the fans, and that was very slick and well done with Ryan and Rest of World and all that sort of thing. But to get Wrexham from not in the game to in the game, I guess, how did that process work, and how popular is there a way to quantify how popular Wrexham have been in the game, I guess?
Well, you're going to Vancouver, which is the home of EA Sports FIFA, and that's where the game is made. And I simply reached out to many of the team that were part of my team when I was president of EA Sports, are still there, good friends, great people that have built a massive business, as I think everybody realizes now. And I brought up the subject of how do we weave Wrexham into this. They were fascinated. They loved the idea of A, Wrexham, B, Ryan Reynolds' production company, Maximum Effort, being involved and having a collaboration with them. The EA Sports team see video games very differently, I think, than other publishers. They, in particular, see the game now called EA Sports FC as a full experience of football, not just a simulation of the game itself. So having content, having the collaboration of brilliant content makers like Maximum Effort was important to them. So I got everybody on a Zoom. I got my team in Vancouver on with Ryan and Rob, and we chatted through. And next thing, Rest of the World, Wrexham became Rest of the World, and the rest is history. So it wasn't that difficult for me to arrange, and it made a lot of sense for both parties.
Yeah, you can see why they were keen to have you on board, pulling many strings, including FIFA, which many people are very grateful for. Did you have words of warning for him, though, in terms of, I think it would have been easy, I guess, to have got a little bit giddy straight away when you buy a football team, and this is, you want to get to the Premier League, but actually and back-to-back promotions, 2 promotions in 3 seasons has been amazing, hugely successful. But it's about more than just short-term success, isn't it? These 2 want a long-term vision.
Yeah, I mean, not the words of warning, but certainly my job was to convince the outside world, having spent a lot of time with Rob talking this through, a little time with Ryan on Zoom, that they were legitimate. They were not coming in to do a documentary that would make potentially millions of dollars, propel their images even higher in the world of Hollywood, and then bail on Wrexham. I gave them the history of the club, where it was with the Supporters Trust, and how the club had gone through really difficult times. And my job was to do a number of interviews, which I did with the BBC, with Bloomberg, with the Wrexham leader, and sit down and talk to these people and to validate the legitimacy of their intentions, which was to do good by a community that currently and previously had some tough times. I grew up in Marford, just outside. I played for Gresford Athletic for many, many years, and I'm very familiar with the history of coal mining. Later on, summer job at Brumbo Steelworks, and all of the industries that I grew up with, living just outside of Wrexham, that had disappeared. The industrial estate's still there, and that kept us alive in Wrexham for a while. But, it was a town that was experiencing tough times, started to get a checkered reputation, and we needed to fix that. And no better platform to do that than football. As simple as that. We're different. We don't have a lot of rugby. No disrespect to Wrexham Rugby Club, but we don't have a lot of rugby. And it was a great opportunity. And what I had seen over I moved to Wrexham in 1965, and John Neal teams, of which I would go and, watch the great Whittles, Smallmans, Moyers, Shintons, Eddie May, Dave Gaskell in goal, Mickey Evans. I mean, I could go on, which gave us great joy and got us all the way up to the 2nd division. But those times are a distant part of our history, and we needed to see if we could finally get back, I guess, what I would always say, to where we could belong. But my warning to Rob was, this is not going to be easy, not going to be cheap. It will be political. It will be emotional. It will be fraught with people looking at you with squinted eyes as, are you for real? Don't screw with us here. And I think they've checked every box and have passed with flying colours.
If they were to reach out tomorrow and say, we're in League One, Peter, we still want to get to the Premier League, you have seen it at the very top level. I saw your posts about Jurgen and Liverpool, Jurgen Klopp, and you have seen it at the top of the Premier League level, Premier League winners. It's a fairly obvious question, but how big is that gap now? And maybe what key, we've spoken a lot on the podcast about still need for a training ground, stadium development. They're still investing in the women's team. Yes, they want to get to the Premier League, but what does the club need to do as a whole to make itself a Premier League entity in however long that takes?
Well, you touched on it. It's infrastructure. And even a club like Liverpool, during my time there, we decided that Melwood simply wasn't going to be fit for purpose. And we needed to bring our first team and our academy together for the first time in 70 years and built out the Kirby, what is now the AXA Training Centre. Building out an academy is absolutely crucial, from under 6 all the way up to under 21s, under 23s. Having a women's team that is very competitive, and look, the women have done well, but how do we get to, the championship? How do we get, long term? If the men are going to be in the Premier League, then the women need to be in the WSL. But the academy, the system bringing talent through, as all of the great clubs do. Look, you look at Liverpool and you look at what Jurgen's been able to do over the years, bring these young players through. Sometimes, like a Trent Alexander-Arnold or Curtis Jones, they break through and they are first teamers. And other times they have a great experience in the academy and you're able to send them on the way for a financial profit, to be blunt, to other clubs where they're going to do incredibly well. You think of a Harry Wilson, alumni of where I taught at Ysgoldion Ysbran in Llangollen, doing really well at Fulham. And I'm always happy and glad to see him be able to do that. Dominic Solanke at Bournemouth. So you've got to build infrastructure. You've got to build something that withstands the wins and losses. That means that you've got a conveyor belt of talent coming through that can get you through tough seasons. And before you get to the Premier League, you go through the Championship, one of the toughest leagues in the world. So there's that. You obviously do the analysis of your catchment area, the marketplace, where you've got, which I think Wrexham has a huge advantage when you think how far into North Wales it stretches. And we start now, which has already started, having the young people be Wrexham fans and not Liverpool, Everton, Manchester United, Man City fans, which they were for decades, because there wasn't much going on at the racecourse. And so you naturally gravitated to where you think you could have more fun and excitement and have a better chance of seeing the winning team. That is now being reversed. And I've had the privilege of flying over a couple of times this year and not only watching the game, but watching the people and doing an analysis, if you will, in my head and an audit. And I'm delighted to see dads and lads come up there knowing that you're building lifetime fans in that 5, 6, 7-year-old that is already idolizing a Paul Mullin or an Ollie Palmer in the same way that I idolized a Ray Smith and an Albert Kinsey and those players. And so that's what's required. It doesn't happen overnight. Relegation is always looming. Let me tell you, it's not, you always have to worry about that before you lick your lips with the prospect of promotion and the negative financial elements of that. But the right people at the top, the structure of an academy, having a women's team brings in I think the fact that you have to, I believe, morally have a women's team, and B, brings in a fan base that maybe wouldn't be interested in the men. And I saw that very much at Liverpool in the WSL. And here in America, there is as many, if not more, young girls playing soccer than there are boys. And the NWSL is on fire right now, getting $50, $80 million franchise fees and sold out stadiums, watching women's football and national television deals and what have you. So I think it's all about building structure, a structure that allows you to have the chance of continuing this march up the leagues. But every league you get into, it becomes more difficult to get out of, and not more so than the Championship.
Yeah, definitely. What I would say is, we've seen recently the news report in America about 5% and the tie-up with Nasaka, I think, or how I'm going to probably pronounce that wrong, in Mexico. Now, we don't need to maybe jump to a huge conclusion, but with the way football's going, I know we saw Luton get there and we've seen Bournemouth get there and we've seen other teams get there without being backed by a sheikh or an oil baron or whoever. But realistically, in your opinion, do you think Rob and Ryan would need help to reach the Premier League, to finance a Premier League operation?
I think, yeah. I think that and there's no shortage of people at this point, to their credit, that would say, based with the presentation of a 5-year strategy of where we Wrexham feel we can get to, this is the valuation of the club. The valuation will increase as they get into League One, obviously now, and hopefully the Championship. But with that comes the stadium is going to have to be bigger. There's no way that the match day revenues will fund anything that will get you out of the Championship as it currently stands. Bournemouth finds that out on a regular basis. And these are the clubs you should look at, Bournemouth and Brighton in particular, who I know relatively well. And of course, Bournemouth is Bill Foley, who has pretty deep roots here in Santa Barbara, which is why I think the game is being played here fundamentally. But you look at the catchment area, you say, what can we do? What does the stadium structure need to look like? How much can we get out of hospitality? What is the wealth and the ability for us to charge £400-500 a game day ticket with a 3-course meal in a nice lounge? Because general admission tickets are great, but ultimately to be able to drive revenue, match day revenues, give sponsors a white tablecloth 5-star experience that they can come in and feel good about the club and bring in maybe their customers as a result. This is what needs to be done. So when you think about the stadium, you think about building out a training ground, an academy system, supporting the women's team to get to where they need to be. And yes, there's more capital needs to come in. And again, I'm sure done correctly with the right vision that there'd be no shortage of takers as it currently stands.
I've got one more, and then we're going to talk a little bit about Santa Barbara Sky. But
yeah.
I've got a question there, and I always ask American friends of mine about Wrexham and how it's been received. And I've been over there, I went to North Carolina, I went to LA, and there's Wrexham fever. People are into Wrexham. But I do wonder whether to truly crack America, as in really take it over, broadcast rights, Peter, in terms of right now, international fans can watch it on iFollow. But would that next step to really, Premier League games are on NBC, or correct me if that's not right, but is maybe a broadcast deal the only thing sort of holding Wrexham back from really breaking into the mainstream?
Not necessarily. I think, there's so much soccer here on television. It's actually difficult. There's Premier League, Bundesliga, La Liga, Mexican League. I mean,
right.
You're talking to somebody that moved here from Wrexham 40 odd years ago, where you couldn't watch any football whatsoever on television, and barely on a Sunday morning could you find the scores in a newspaper. They weren't there. Fast forward to today, whether it's Peacock, which is the NBC streaming system, case in point, all 10 games on Sunday in the Premier League were live here on American television, all 10. And that's part of the NBC network clout and reach that you have here. The documentary has been amazing, and I'm pretty unique. I think Wrexham lad that here in America that wanders around, drives through LA, sees the billboards, laughs, and just it is bizarre to me, now, in a good way, when I can talk Wrexham to somebody. As I often do, typically watching Liverpool, and people know my background, and everybody knows about it, and everybody knows Gresford, and it just puts a smile on my face, and I shake my head, as somebody that came here directly from Wrexham in 1981, and I look at it now. And you can stop somebody in the street here in Santa Barbara, Los Angeles, say Wrexham, and they'll have a conversation with you about the club. Stunning.
Lastly, then, let's talk a bit about Santa Barbara Sky. So, just talk to me about your vision. You are the owner now. You're not going to be advising. You are very much the shot caller. 2025, you'll be playing at Harder Stadium. Very exciting, I can imagine, for you.
Yeah, I mean, I arrived back here, in 2020 from Liverpool as we finished the COVID season, and came back. Fortunate to be able to get a home here in Montecito. I'm looking out at the ocean now, and in the hills above Santa Barbara, and pretty quickly USL, which is, when you think of the American soccer pyramid, it's the league that sits just below MLS. Reached out, said, "Hey, we'd like to fly out and talk to you." Santa Barbara has been a target market for us for a number of years now, and we just have not been able to get traction there in that marketplace. And so I met with them and infamously said, I'll be an engaged minority owner. And the next thing I know, I'm the founding owner, writing the checks, getting everything going. And the response has been amazing. It hasn't been easy building a professional football club from scratch, literally a clean sheet of paper where I selected the name from a list of 10 names and said, that's where we're going to go. Building the brand, looking at the unique qualities of this community with our colors of terracotta and midnight blue, which reflect the sky and the architecture. And, it's taken us a while to get everything in place. It's not easy building a professional sports team where one has pretty much never existed, certainly in the last 30, 40 years. But we're going to be ready to go. Finalizing our agreement with Harder Stadium with UCSB, and we will do a multi-year deal there, both men and women ultimately playing there. Concurrently, my wife and I founded Fundación Cielo, which is the Sky Foundation, charitable foundation, and funded that so that straight away we're giving back to the community through the power of football to this community, in particular. Some of the more disadvantaged areas, which tend to be Hispanic communities that serve this community so wonderfully and have done for multiple generations, and are a huge part of the soccer DNA of this city. And so we're looking forward. It's been a lot of work, but we're looking forward to kicking off in March of 2025.
I wish you all the success with that, and I'm sure that if Rob is listening, as he sometimes does, to these podcasts, Santa Barbara Sky Friendly, that's coming soon, surely 2026 maybe, or 2027. So Peter, thank you very much, and let's see. Who knows whether Wrexham can go back to back? I don't know, but what I will say, and I echo what you said and what we've said in recent weeks: infrastructure. That's the bottom line, isn't it? That's absolutely paramount.
Yeah, and sometimes you don't necessarily want to go back to back, and that sounds weird. You need to settle in for a while, figure out what you need to do to get to the next level, because you don't want to be on this massive high-speed roller coaster and hit a bit of a wall. And so it is all about infrastructure. I think the opportunity is there for Wrexham. I'm sure they know what they need to do. You've got seasoned professionals there in Sean Harvey, obviously, in particular, and my hope is that we'll be chatting in about 5 years and we'll be vying then to get into the Premier League, if not already in it. But you've got to build that infrastructure, and I'm sure they know that.
Double promotion, double promotion, double promotion, double promotion.
So there you go, Rich. That's it for another week. Peter Moore, very, very interesting there. Very, very interesting guy. And yeah, he's right, isn't he? Training ground, infrastructure. I mean, it's all stuff we've said, but also sometimes things can come too quickly. And I think he's a voice of reason. He knows the top level. He's been at Liverpool. He knows how big those gaps are. And I also thought it was quite interesting that he said that there wouldn't be a shortage of volunteers if Rob and Ryan do need financial help to bridge the gap, probably from the Championship to the Premier League. Probably a queue of volunteers to do that.
Oh God, yeah. I think they'll have those contingency plans sort of already in the pipeline if they had to. And that is the dilemma going into next season, because I think we are all dreaming of another promotion, back to back. And I do think that it can be attainable. Like we've said in the past countless times, that top 12 should be quite doable next season if we invest well this summer. From there on in, you could potentially get the playoffs. If you get to the playoffs, who knows what can happen then, and you could potentially be in the Championship then. And if you get to the Championship, you are just one step away from the Premier League. So why would you not go, for all your eggs into one basket and try push for that? But you could be, there without a proper training ground, without the cop stand renovated. So I do think we're approaching the time now where we're not saying we're down tools and we just sort of flirt relegation every season, but we just need to take things steady. The growth has been enormous. It's been ridiculous over the last few years, and it's going to be exciting and really intriguing now just to see how quickly, we can go up that next level and go from being this little, last 2 seasons we've been sort of the big fish in the smaller ponds, and now we're getting up to a level where we're just another club, and we are becoming, I know rival fans will hate this, but we are going to become underdogs. Like, we generally will become underdogs if we get to the Championship. Because
right,
we will have tiny budget compared to everyone else, and we will have smaller stadium, and we will just be that little plucky team who have been bankrolled to the big time. Now we've got to do it, but that sort of takes away all the hard work that's gone into making that happen. So really interesting to see.
Yeah, he was really, really interesting, and that's it for another. You see me a lot this week. You saw me at Brighton. You saw me at that average to bad Chinese place that you took me to. You see me on here. I guess all you got to do now is just sign us out of the podcast for the week,
and I can get away from you for a week. Fantastic.
Yeah, exactly.
No, thank you so much to all of you for listening, and if you are again watching on YouTube, thank you very much for doing that. As always, a massive thank you to Red Tent People Development for making the podcast happen. Without them, we simply couldn't do it. And thank you very much to Wrexham-based band Hypnotic as well for the music, the stings we use in the podcast. There will probably be at some point a bit of a refresh, our own overhaul heading into the new season. So keep your eyes and ears peeled for that and how it might look. We will also be doing a bit more work as well on RobRyanRed.com. So just a little segue. If you ever want to write a piece for us, or you fancy your own dabble into journalism or helping us out a little bit, drop us an email, RobRyanRed.com, or the contact button on our website, because it'd be great for us to, to have some of your work on there. It would help us out. And yeah, we're looking to grow that. So thank you very much. Take care, and we'll see you again next time.